Hi guys, it's Ree Drummond, the Pioneer Woman, and today you are going to make my lasagna soup, and I promise you won't regret it. It is so delicious. I'm going to start by breaking up some lasagna noodles, and I'm going to put them into a bowl, and then they'll be ready to drop in the boiling water later. I've already got boiling water going. There's nothing worse than having a soup or sauce all ready, and then you realize, oh no, I've got to bring a big pot of water to a boil. I'm just breaking them into random pieces so you don't have to follow any sort of size. Got those on standby. And now I'm going to slice up an onion. You just cut off the tip and then peel off the outer layer. This soup is one of my family's favorite things right now. It's kind of a mashup of lasagna and soup, which makes perfect sense. And I love things like that, where you take something like lasagna that you've made for years and years, and then you turn it into a completely different dish. So once you cut the onion in half, just lay it on its side, and you can cut nice half-moon slices, I call them. This is so much easier than slicing a whole onion because you have this flat surface that kind of stabilizes the onion. I don't have the fanciest knife skills out there, so I need all the little tricks I can get. Okay, I've just got the little bit. So the onion is sliced. I'm separating the onion slices. Now, of course, any lasagna recipe has to have plenty of garlic. So I've got 4 cloves. And the easiest way to break open a clove of garlic is just to take the knife, smash it with your hand. You can sort of think about the things that you're frustrated about this week. Whack a clove of garlic. Everything instantly seems better. You know, in the supermarkets, they sell bags of peeled garlic now, which is really a time saver if you use a lot of garlic in your cooking. I do confess to buying bags of peeled garlic cloves. So I'm actually a little rusty right now peeling garlic. I forgot how. All right, I'm just mincing the garlic, and it just kind of takes gathering it up, holding the knife, and just kind of rocking it back and forth. This is one of those things you can't rush. The more you mince it up, the more garlic flavor is going to wind up in your dish. Are you having fun yet? I am. Thank you for cooking with me. It's always more fun to cook with a friend than by yourself. Okay, the garlic is nice and minced. So I've also got a couple of fresh herbs, and they're 2 of my favorites, oregano and thyme. And I'll just strip the leaves off of the stalk. And I'll do the same thing to the thyme. Just hold the top and then take your fingers and just peel off the leaves. They come off so easily. Sometimes thyme is so delicate that you can actually just chop up the stalk along with the leaves. So I'm going to mince these up together. There is no better smell than fresh herbs. I live in Oklahoma and we have 4 seasons. So when I don't have herbs growing in my garden, I'm just not as happy an individual. Okay, got all this ready. Now I'm going to get over to the pot and get things going. I'm going to add plenty of olive oil, and I've already got the big Dutch oven preheated. I just added about 1/4 cup of olive oil, and then you want to grab these beautiful sliced onions. Whoop. And this is why I wear floral or otherwise patterned tops. So if I slosh a little olive oil on myself, nobody will know. And then the garlic goes in. It smells amazing already. It's crazy how quickly that happens. And then all of these beautiful fresh herbs go in. Oh, I'm gonna grab a spoon. So you just want to stir the onions and garlic with the herbs and get those softened. Oh, just glorious. This is a great way to start any soup recipe at all. So these are getting off to a good start. So I'm going to add the meat. I'm doing a mixture of ground beef and then just some regular pork sausage. You can use Italian sausage. This is one of those recipes you can just open your fridge. If you have some ground beef that you need to use, if you have a whole bunch of sausage, you can just omit the beef entirely, do a sausage version. You could even do ground turkey. All of the recipes that I make are incredibly versatile, meaning if I'm out of something, I can swap in so many other things. I think that is the case because I live in the country and I've learned the hard way that if I run out of something I need, I'm out. I can't take the time to drive to town and go to the store. Okay, so you want to crumble up the meat, just kind of break it up with a spoon. And this is a good time to add some kosher salt. And this is not the last time you're going to see me grab the black pepper. I'm a big black pepper fan. And then it's just about stirring and cooking this until both meats are totally browned. So get up to that point, and then we'll keep moving forward. All right, the meat is totally browned. It took about 5 minutes. This hot Dutch oven, it doesn't take long. Now, depending on how lean your ground beef is, it's always a good idea to drain any excess grease. So I just kind of tilt it. The goal for me is never completely removing all the grease because there is flavor in there. I just kind of get out the big pools of it. But you want to leave a little bit behind because it does add to the overall flavor of the soup. I think that's good enough. And there's still a little bit in the bottom of the pot, and that's what you want. So now that the onions and garlic and meat are cooked, I'm going to start adding the other soup ingredients. Add some tomato paste. And you want to stir the tomato paste in and let it really get against the bottom of this hot pan. It almost kind of fries the paste and deepens the flavor. It kind of wakes it up in a way. And you just want to stir it around for about 30 seconds before you start adding the other things. And by other things, I've got a little carafe of the hard stuff. It's actually not hard stuff, it's just white wine. You can use red wine, white wine, whatever you have handy. And it's good to use something that you already have open. You don't have to use fine wine when it comes to making a soup like this. Oh, the smell of wine wafting out of a pan. I think that's one of the smells in heaven. Along with citrus, lavender. I have a list of smells in heaven. Okay, so now that the wine has partially evaporated, you want to add a can of whole tomatoes, and you can do diced tomatoes, stewed tomatoes. You can even do tomato puree if you're somebody that doesn't like to have big chunks of tomatoes. When I make my regular lasagna recipe, it always has big tomato chunks. So I kind of wanted the soup to be similar. Now, some fancy chefs get in there and squeeze the tomatoes with their hands. I'm just going to use the spoon. Every time I try to squeeze a tomato with my hand, it either squirts me in the eye or winds up in my hair, and I'm trying to look nice for you guys, so I'm just going to let the spoon do all the squishing and mushing. I really love this soup. I have 2 teenage boys still at home. My daughters are out of the house now. So the meaty, hearty, really home-style recipes are really front and center in my house these days. Both of my boys play football, so having a soup like this ready to go when they get home from practice is just my favorite category of things to cook for them. Okay, all the tomatoes are broken up, so the liquid for the soup comes next. I'm using 4 cups of vegetable stock. You can use beef stock, beef broth, chicken stock, chicken broth. Really, you just kind of want a flavorful liquid of any kind. You could even use bouillon cubes and dissolve them in some boiling water. In a pinch, I've done that for sure. Give it a stir, and then I've got some fresh parsley I already pulled some of the leaves off of some parsley stems, and there's nothing complicated about this. I am not precise when it comes to picking the leaves off of herbs. I don't have time to be precise in my life. If there's a little stem in there, it's not going to matter. And then with parsley, I like to chop it up. I call it kind of halfway because I still like to see those pretty little flat leaves. You don't have to mince the heck out of it. All right, that looks fantastic. Now I'm going to save some of this parsley for another little component I'm going to make in a minute. But I'll add some of it to the soup. Give it a quick stir. And then I can't forget about my lasagna noodles. This is a good time to pour those in. All right, you need to bring the soup to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer and let it cook for 20 minutes. You need to cook the lasagna noodles, so take care of that, and I'll see you back here in a bit. So how does your soup look? Mine looks pretty darn good. It's been simmering away. It got a little bit richer in color. Looking great. I drained the lasagna noodles. You want to do that about 10 minutes in. You don't want to cook them all the way because they're eventually going to go back into the soup, and you do not want a mushy lasagna noodle. I'm going to wait on that because I'm going to make a really delicious ricotta mixture. It starts with ricotta cheese, and you want to add some grated Parmesan and the rest of the minced parsley that you cut up. Add that in, and then add some salt and pepper. This is very, very simple. In regular lasagna, you would make a ricotta mixture to put in between the layers of sauce and noodles. I'm going to turn these into little dollops. I kind of call them ricotta dumplings that go on top of the soup once you dish it up. Oh, and this happens all the time. I totally forgot to add the basil. No harm, no foul. It's not too late. I'm going to pick off a few leaves, talk about an herb that I love. Oh, gosh, there's no replacement for basil. It is delicious. And this is one of the herbs that is the hardest for me to get in the wintertime in Oklahoma. So for that reason, in the summertime, I really go crazy. I plant so much basil to the point that it's just coming out of my ears, basically. Now, you can just kind of roughly chop the basil. I just rolled it up in a really rough ball. And I don't know if I can even call this chiffonade. I just kind of cut it into strips. And then you want to add the basil to the ricotta mixture. And now I can stir it up, now that I've added everything. Sometimes when you forget an ingredient, it's no big deal, like with the basil. Even if you forgot it in the ricotta, you could sprinkle it over the soup. The worst thing to forget when you're in the kitchen is some kind of a baking ingredient. I have a chocolate sheet cake that I make, and even after all these years of making it from memory, every now and then I'll forget to add the baking soda. And I don't realize it until I pull the cake out of the oven, and it's basically a little flat chocolate pancake instead of a cake. Those are some very dark days. All right, so it's good to have the ricotta mixture all ready to go. I'm gonna get back over here to this beautiful soup, and I'm gonna turn the heat way, way down. Now, I cannot leave well enough alone. This soup would be delicious as it is now, but if you add a little bit of heavy cream to the pot, it doesn't turn it into a creamy tomato soup at all. It just kind of takes the edge off of all of that tomato and all of that richness. Trust me, it is really good with the cream. If you want to omit the cream, that's totally fine too. Again, this is one of those recipes that's totally versatile. You can add a bunch of cream if you want. You can add a bunch of Parmesan to the soup. You can keep the Parmesan limited to the ricotta mixture. There are no rules in my kitchen. Hopefully it's the same in your kitchen. Now it's time for the broken up lasagna noodles. Those just go right in. And they're just under the al dente stage. You want to have a little bit of room for forgiveness, because when the noodles simmer in the soup, they will keep cooking. How beautiful does this look? Now I'm actually gonna get a few more leaves of basil just because I feel like it. This time you can just tear them right in. No need to use the knife. Sometimes when I do things like this, I tell myself I'm being rustic, but I'm actually just being lazy. I don't want to chop it up. How pretty does this look? All right, now just wait till you see it in the bowl. Okay. When you serve up this soup, you want to have a bowl that has somewhat of a wide rim so you can see all the gorgeousness. And I really like food to look pretty, so I make sure I get chunks of tomato, plenty of basil, of course, lasagna. I'm a lifelong pasta lover. Okie doke. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more basil to the top. You can keep adding basil or not. I don't think you can ever have too much. And then I'm gonna grab a little spoon, and this is how the ricotta mixture plays out. You just scoop a little bit of a round dollop and drop it right on. You can just do one, or you can do two. Get on there. Or, if you're me, you can do three. If one is good, three is better. That's my motto. And then as this sits in the soup, it's just gonna get creamier and creamier. Look at this, I have a little extra Parmesan left in the measuring cup. Little more basil. I told you I can't stop. Look at this soup, guys. I've been smelling it, and now I cannot wait to taste it. Oh, it is even more delicious than the last time I made it. It's so rich and meaty and hearty. Honestly, that cream really sends it over the top. It just kind of adds a richness. I taste the basil. I got a little piece of the ricotta. It's perfect. Lasagna soup. I hope you love it. I'm so glad you cooked it with me. See you next time.